Welcome back. 6 months ago, we explored how ketamine can unlock healing from depression and anxiety. And today we return with the essential missing piece, somatic therapy. While ketamine opens the door to neuroplasticity, it's how we engage the body during that window that catalyzes true healing. Jennie Poole of The Mend invites us to harness that neuroplasticity by working through the senses to help release trauma stored in the body. In this part 2, we show why integrating somatic tools beyond just talk creates lasting transformation. This is information everyone needs because healing happens when both mind and body are fully engaged. Let's dive in. Our first stop is talking to our expert, Jennie Poole. She's going to help us understand why it's so important to take advantage of this open window where we can radically change and even help release stuck trauma from the body while using ketamine. Let's go talk to her.
So studied structural body work, so I'm dual licensed in structural body work and clinical mental health therapy. And I knew back then that those worlds would collide. I think what's important to understand too about ketamine and somatic therapy, because that's what I believe is going to really move the needle on mental health, right? You have a huge wave of psychedelic assisted therapy coming in, but you also have a huge wave of somatic therapy coming in because you can't just unencapsulate what's going on in the mind. You also have to slough off and unencapsulate what's going on in the body too.
Right.
And that's what somatic therapy does. And what makes these molecules in the psychedelic assisted therapy, and specifically ketamine, so powerful is that it's going to increase the efficacy at which the somatic therapy can help move, right? Everybody wants to reclaim their equilibrium, a sense of safety in the world. They don't want to stay just steeped in the traumas, retelling the story, recirculating. And there's a call to efficacy. You're seeing it in the medical field and not to just sit there and be in the mess, right?
Right.
It's like, hey,
so talk to me about efficacy, because that's not a word that perhaps I am familiar with and maybe other people too. So what does efficacy mean?
Effectiveness, right? If I come in and I ask you for help, I don't want to wait 3 years to get better. Because that's what nervous system tension does, and trauma in the nervous system, anxiety, depression, etc., like mental health issues, is they bog up the nervous system. And you see there's a lot of modalities coming online now that are built to repair and heal the nervous system. And that's where I think the true reclamation. But I built Mend Counseling Center because when I left residential treatment and kind of people that are kind of forced to be in it, and when you have treatment resistant people, they're kind of made to do something. Their heart's not in it, right? So I wanted to build something where people wanted to come and heal. And I knew that I could do it uniquely because of my dual licensure, right? And I'd worked on, at that point, probably hundreds, if not thousands of bodies. And truly, when Dr. Bessel van der Kolk wrote The Body Keeps the Score, it's truly what it is. The body records, so does the mind. So what you encapsulate in the mind, you're also encapsulating in the body, and you have to release it from the system as a whole. Our systems are designed to have synchronicity. Our lungs don't work separate from our heart, right? Our mental body doesn't work separate from our emotional body, nor does it from our physical body. So when you can create cohesiveness and healing, you can create more equilibrium and you can repair that nervous system. Ketamine helps do that. But ketamine as a standalone isn't a fix-all, and that's what I want people to really understand. You can go sit in a chair and get an infusion, but if you don't have some processing and good therapy before, some integration afterward, I'll just say this, because if you don't, I'm just some therapist from Utah, right? Dr. Bessel van der Kolk has a national platform. He wrote The Body Keeps Score, and he's at the forefront of all this research with all these molecules. He will say, putting people in chairs, giving them shots, and leaving them alone is not a holistic way to do this medicine. Medicine is best used as an adjunct to really incredible therapy in the hands of somebody that knows how to hold space for you, right? Because you want to make use of that neuroplasticity. If you're going to open the spaces, these are mining molecules. Okay, they're going to mine what's in your psyche. They're not just going to blanket the neurotransmitter and create calmness, which is medically what a lot of them will do, right? But it's also going to mine. And if it's going to increase neuroplasticity, you want to be in the hands of someone who's going to help you make use of that neuroplasticity, that openness there. so that we can create new neural pathways, we can create deeper healing. And when you talk about efficacy, this kind of therapy, especially combined with somatics, will move the needle so you're not in therapy forever. Nobody wants to sit there and tell their trauma stories over and over and over again with no movement.
Meet Trevor Morey, our skeptic, who's bravely stepping into his first ketamine experience. As someone who's lived with lifelong anxiety, the idea of relinquishing control is daunting, and past experiences with woo people have left him wary. Yet he's here because he trusts Jennie Poole and the safe space she creates. So let's see what unfolds as he faces the unknown.
Right. So I'm a massage therapist. I like to say more. I do more body work, and I focus on a lot of more structural, people that have imbalances in their body or injuries, and I like to do more of the recovery side of it, or even just preparation for athletes and stuff. And so that's kind of what I do as a massage therapist. Other than that, I do spend a lot of time focusing on myself, like you were saying, on healing, mentally, physically. I go to the gym every day. I don't have much of a life outside of those things. I've seen a lot of I've gone to a bunch of counseling and therapy for most of my life, just because of some childhood traumas, and I feel like a lot of times it feels like I am healing or getting over certain things, but then it does feel like it just kind of circles back around. Did I ever actually get over that? Or was it just because I talked about it so much that I was able to normalize it almost? And so I've gone through a lot of therapy in my life, but for me, it just still feels like there's there's still this anxiety that I want to be able to get rid of.
Okay.
And it's just always there for probably a bunch of different reasons that I've talked about in my past, but I just haven't ever found that. The anxiety, most of it comes from just a fear of failure or going back to where I was, how I grew up. The just super poor and never knowing where your next meal is coming from kind of thing. And so I have this crippling fear of ever going back to that, and I've worked so hard to get out of it. And so even when I do feel like if I am successful, and right now I'm doing, my business is doing great and everything, but there's always just that fear of regressing. And so it's definitely all connected. And then also, yes, in relationships as well. I always pull back and hold back as long as I possibly can. And for me, it feels safe and it feels healthy. But I guess that either I'm wrong or every other woman is wrong. But they want me to move faster, and eventually it probably is because of that same just anxiety that's been planted from when I was a kid.
What would life be like without anxiety?
That is my only goal right now, is to get rid of that. I think life would be perfect without anxiety.
Yeah.
That's what even as I've gone through therapy my whole life, and they asked that question of if this were to work out perfectly, if this were to be a magic cure-all by tomorrow, what would that mean? What would you feel like? And I'm I'd want to just be worry-free, not going circles in my mind every single day, stressing about things that I really don't necessarily need to, because I've always figured out a way to make it work. But for me, it would losing that would be everything. If we can figure that out, then I'm good.
As we begin, you'll see Trevor place a ketamine troche in his cheek. This is kind of a waxy tablet that melts and slightly numbs your cheek as it dissolves. And it's going to take effect probably within about 15 to 30 minutes. Through this, while he is going into medicine, Jennie guides him to connect to himself through breath, because every part of the room is designed to signal safety. The lighting is soft. She's using the scent of Palo Santo, not just once, but throughout, to reintroduce safety as Trevor unpacks old emotions. You'll also see Jennie use a Theragun, which is another sensory tool to help release tension somatically through the body. As Trevor verbalizes, if he chooses, the room holds him in serene beauty. This is the healing so many seek, a space where the nervous system can finally let go, With ketamine and somatic therapy together, Trevor's window of tolerance expands. He can feel safe in his body, safe to connect, and that's the beautiful transformation we're here to witness.
I sat with my fear. I didn't push it away this time. I made a warm drink, poured it in a beautiful mug, opened the window, and said, "Come and speak." It trembled in the doorway, unsure if it was allowed to stay. I nodded, "It's okay, I'm listening," and fear began to soften. It didn't raise its voice. It didn't bark commands. It just wanted to be heard, to not be cast aside again. "I was trying to protect you," it said. "I just didn't know how to love you right." And I felt it then, not the danger, but the longing underneath. The ache to be safe, to be whole, to not lose everything again. I reached for fear's shaking hand and said, "You don't have to shout anymore." We sat like that for a long while, no more battle between us. I asked it what it needed. It asked me to stay, so I stayed. I stayed until the shaking stilled, until the voice of fear turned to weeping, until it said, "Thank you for seeing me." And something cracked open in both of us.
As Trevor sat with his fear, ketamine softened that inner gatekeeper, allowing him to meet anxiety with compassion. In Jennie's safe space, he released old tensions, and now with greater trust and safety, he steps into a new chapter. So confident in his growth, he's already encouraging friends. Now let's hear his reflections on this transformative journey.
Session 1 of ketamine, you don't know what you don't know, right? And then session 5 of ketamine and kind of all the in-between. What was your experience of interfacing with that molecule from the very first time to even the last time that you did it?
It was completely new to me. So even though you explained it to me in the simplest way that you could, everything was just up in the air. I was like, my comprehension was not, I didn't understand it very well. And so I feel like the first session was almost just for me to just kind of get thrown in and start learning. And it was really different. I haven't ever done anything like that. And so feeling like, almost like I don't know how to explain it, but like a high, dizzy kind of sensation for me isn't comfortable. I'm someone that likes to be in complete control of everything. And so that was like uncomfortable to me, which is why for me it was, important to be with someone that knew what they were doing. Mm-hmm. And that also I like too that you would just kind of walked me through everything from the beginning to the end. Not that you necessarily talked the whole time, but even just through like little prompts throughout.
I'll ask you just about the anxiety. So one of the things when I started to work with you, even before we did the molecules, we talked about how much anxiety you kind of live with. And did you notice after the ketamine sessions that there was a shift in your nervous system or the way that you would process and digest the anxiety?
Session especially, like, within the next few hours and day, and for a while they were kind of spaced a little bit further out, but but I would definitely feel a lot more relaxed and just in general like open, I guess, to the thoughts. Mm-hmm. Which again, I feel like I try to be open always to that stuff, but just the anxiety connected with it stops me. So I think, but I do think that that after like each session, I would notice that for sure.
Yeah.
As we close this episode, we reflect on Trevor's journey. He arrived with deep anxiety and childhood trauma that impacted every corner of his life. Yet through the combination of ketamine's unique window of neuroplasticity and somatic therapy, he found trust, calm, and a path to releasing what no longer served him. This process is about more than just the molecule. It's about letting the body release stuck emotions, creating safety within, and ultimately allowing us to connect more deeply with ourselves, others, and the world around us. If you'd like to bring this healing modality to your community, Jennie Poole is on a mission to train practitioners far and wide. Or you're welcome to visit her here in Southern Utah at the Mend Counseling Center. All the details are in the show notes below. Thank you for joining us. Until next time, here's to finding peace within.